Thanks a lot, Reagan. Thanks a lot, billionaires. Thanks a lot, billionaire-backed Supreme Court justices. It is a Democratic Leadership Council that has been responsible for the influence of center-right Democratic presidents ever since Bill Clinton. The collapse happened ever since the 1980s and Ronald Reagan. Buckley versus Valeo to review. Majority of justices held that limits on election spending in the Federal Election Campaign Act of 1971 were unconstitutional. The conservatives in the Supreme Court made money speech. What happened after that? Ronald Reagan, the Republican Party, and the big billionaire tax cut for the richest Americans. Immediate recession in 1981. A more billionaire-backed government ever since 1981. It's Ronald Reagan. It is the Republican Party. It is the Republican Party that corrupted the Democratic Party. It is in 1980, right after the landslide loss to Ronald Reagan. After 1980, the Democratic National Committee founded the Democratic Business Council to compete with the Republican National Committee for donations from businesses and corporations. The Democratic Party used to be the party of working people. The Republicans have infiltrated the Democratic Party ever since Ronald Reagan in the 1980s. You know, those Reagan Democrats, they should might as well call themselves Republicans because they support Ronald Reagan and they support billionaire-backed ideology in the name of conservative states' rights. This is what the Reagan Democrats are. They push the party to the center right, and it all continued ever since Bill Clinton. They thought they would never win another election unless they sold out and leaned to the billionaires of the right wing by becoming a center-right party. It's no coincidence. It all began under Reagan. Okay, the Democratic Business Council was founded after the election of Reagan. It all starts with Reagan. It all starts with the billionaires making money speech rather than influence. It all boils down to the billionaires. This is why Jimmy Carter was the last great president in America. He was. A big oil bought him down, and then they allowed the billionaires of the Republican Party to unleash their far-right fascist economic ideology. This Democratic Leadership Council, this has pushed this so-called wave of new Democrats, whatever a new Democrat means. Maybe a new Democrat means I gotta be a Republican with a D right next to that, my name, because that's what Barack Obama and that is what Bill Clinton is. It is a front group. The billionaires had a front group that infiltrated the Democratic Party, and this is what the DLC is. We have the libertarian billionaires pushing this far right, unlift all the regulations and allow the government to allow the corporations to sell off the government. The CATO Institute owns the right wing and the Libertarian Party. The billionaires unleash this economic propaganda onto the masses, but the own billionaire-backed think tank in the left is something called the Progressive Policy Institute, and this organization is not really a real progressive policy institute. They are a center-right think tank designed to retain the status quo and to keep the billionaire interest party by keeping the party to the center right. Democrats who adhere to the DLC's philosophy often call themselves New Democrats. So this was the Bill Clinton Democrat. The Democratic Leadership Council even favored the Iraq war invasion. They supported it. You can understand why they're really unpopular. The DLC has supported welfare reform. Let's end all welfare as we know it. This is a Bill Clinton Republican idea which happened in Republican Congress. So let's not have any living wages. Let's just expand the earned income tax credit. Okay, I'm still not going to have enough money. I'm still robbed blind after NAFTA. Let's just pass a tax credit to keep these people happy. Let's not raise the federal minimum wage. They support expanded health insurance via tax credits for the uninsured. They oppose plans for a single-payer universal health care, so not Medicare for all. Let's decrease the health costs. Let's not be enslaved to corporate profits of the healthcare industry. They supported the NAFTA trade agreement, the Center America Free Trade Agreement that was rushed in through Bush. You understand where we get the draconian crime bill that disproportionately hurt people of color. They have supported this. In 2001, the Democratic Leadership Committee endorsed the idea of tax cuts for the middle class, but okay, they opposed the Bush tax cuts, so they're better than the Republican Party in that they don't want taxes for the wealthy, but they don't want single-payer health care. They support the draconian drug laws that hurt the people of color in the 1990s. They want to end welfare, as we know, and this is not a real progressive group. People woke up to the Democratic Leadership Council. They disbanded in 2000, I want to say it was 2008 or so that they got disbanded. They were founded in 1985. They were founded during the presidency of Reagan. You understand where their influence came from, the Buckley versus Valeo decision, and after the election of Reagan, we had the Democratic Business Council. We have to raise money because the billionaires in the Supreme Court made money speech. This is where you're getting these center-right Republicans posing as progressives in the Democratic Party. And so they understand that the Democratic Leadership Council, they're responsible for low voter turnouts for the Democrats when they sell out the party to become a less bastardized version of the Republican Party. And as I've said, the DNC founded the Democratic Business Council. And then these guys passed the tax cuts in 1981 for Ronald Reagan, the Republican Party. The Reagan Democrats are really just Republicans. Everything is leaning to the center right, away from being the new left, with the FDR, with LBJ, with John F. Kennedy wanting civil rights reforms. This really is a corrupt group. This Progressive Policy Institute is a quasi-progressive group. They oppose single-payer health care, the Progressive Policy Institute. I wonder what were their positions supporting the war on drugs. This Progressive Policy Institute was founded in 1989, a year after the election of George H.W. Bush. So they were trying to push the party to be in center-right. The Progressive Policy Institute is really a front for corporate interests. That's what they are. This is what the center-right is. Even Barack Obama cut the government or whatnot. Barack Obama is pushing tax credits. So Obama didn't pass the minimum wage laws in the 2009 and all that. They had the Goldman Sachs and the billionaires in the governments because the Democratic Party is not supposed to be outright fascist and outright billionaire backed like the Republican Party. But what these billionaires have is that to do with the DLC and the Progressive Policy Institute that we still see active today is that they prevent meaningful change from happening in the Democratic Party, and this is why the Democratic Party has leaned to the right, because of these billionaire-backed groups organized by big business. It all boils down to Reagan. It really does. It all boils down to the presidency of Reagan, and that's the biggest thing that comes down to the infiltration of big money into the Democratic Party. Koch brothers, Democratic Party, they were openly aided. The Koch brothers were aided, as a matter of fact, they were aided by the billionaires. They were helped out by the billionaires. They, especially after Bush was collapsing, the billionaires knew that their big money interests in the Republican Party were collapsing, so they're like, hey, let's go hedge our bet. Let's go bet on both sides, and let's put some fake Democrats who are really Republicans with a D right next to their name. The Kochs funded the third way Democrats to push free trade to the Democrats. Koch brothers, a big billionaire-backed group, they ran the vice president ticket in the Libertarian Party. It was 1984. They're big-time donors of the Republican Party, and they have pushed far-right ideas into the Democratic Party. This was after the Democrats seized control of Congress in 2006. The Koch brothers wanted to push their billionaire far-right ideology. They pushed this far-right ideology onto the Democratic Party. And this would not have happened if they did not make money speech in 1976, if they didn't create the Democratic Business Council. Coke industry secretly financed a report by Third Way, a corporate-funded think tank with ties to the centrist wing of the Democratic Party. The report, titled Why Lou Dobbs is Winning, a populist right-winger. They published in November 2007, was written to promote the free trade agenda to liberals. The white paper explained it would be the first salvo in a year-long effort to reshape the messaging around trade policy, warning that a new and powerful populist strain has emerged on both the left and the right. Most of this populism you see is on the Democratic Party because it's leaning far more to the right. It's politicians. Meanwhile, that is the Republican Party. And then the Democratic Party, they're just leaning towards corporate interests. They're really leaning towards the right wing when you have these billionaire-backed groups giving us these phony baloney center-right Democrats like Bill Clinton and Barack Obama. And I'm sure, no doubt about it, Joe Biden is part of that billionaire group. And Elizabeth Warren is going to be part of this group. She is a former Republican. It's all up to her if she wants a new Green New Deal and bring jobs out of China and all that. Maybe that vision has to be achieved with a new American Progressive Party. Just get Trump out of there. The Democratic Party is not willing to go along. If the women and the minorities want to get rid of the old white men out of the Democratic Party, start pushing for government for the people instead of billionaires, then be my guest. There's always a chance that the Democratic Party can come back, but we need a third party. If they're not going to do anything, the All-American Progressive Party is about getting the billionaires out of the government. So thanks a lot, Ronald Reagan, and thanks a lot, Republicans. Supreme Court Buckley versus Valeo. Citizens United versus FEC. Thanks a lot, Republican Supreme Court justices. We can spend as many money without disclosing where the money came from. This was 2010. This was the Republicans and the Supreme Court corrupted the Democratic Party. It all boils down to Reagan. It all boils down to Republicans.